Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Hot Seat with Penzola. Thank you again. We are still in season 3 and very excited about it. Today we are talking all things financial and really just unpacking a simple conversation about financial planning. What is that, and what are the different types of products that exist that are in relation to financial planning? And yeah, I mean, it's a topic that I do think that it's linked to somewhat a societal norm. There are unwritten rules about it, and there's just certain behaviors that we grow up believing that we need to either conform to or not conform to when it comes to finances. It is a very sensitive subject. And as a result, I've got Babalwa who's here to talk to me about that. It's really just a simple conversation about what does financial planning speak to. Babalwa, thank you so much for coming and making the time. You're looking amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
So yeah, before we get to talk about money, and how we generally relate to money, talk to me about who Babalwa is. So it's not Babalwa, it's Babalwa.
Yes.
Xhosa, right?
Yes.
Yes. So talk to me about who you are, what do you do, and yeah, like what makes you tick before we get into the topic of the day.
So I'm really just another girl from the Transkei who came to Johannesburg. I've been in banking. I spent the bulk of my career as an asset manager.
Yeah.
But my very first job was doing people's tax returns.
Wow.
And so it means from when I graduated, when I was very young, I was talking to people about money matters in some shape or form. And as you progress, you sort of see that a lot of us are working, but we're not really attaining our goals. And a lot of people, even though we are all educated and we are these corporate men and women, ultimately we go back home and a lot of people rely on us.
Correct.
So we're busy raising our own children, but the people that are older than us and our neighbors and extended family and even children in the neighborhood, everybody sort of comes to you for I don't know, all sorts of life advice.
Because they see you as somebody who's made it.
You've made
You're
it. Also figuring it out.
Yeah.
And so that's who Babalwa is.
Yeah.
A lot of different people talk to me about a lot of different things, but because of my professional experience and my education, it goes to money.
It always comes down to money. Yeah. All right. Look, I mean, it does sound like you've had a relationship with money from an early age and for a long time. And I think that's why I found it comfortable to invite you, with the right experience to talk to me about this, So in the general term, what is financial planning? How do we define it and why is it important?
So it's like having a map.
Yeah.
I'm leaving from your house. I'm going to Durban. And the financial plan is, do I have enough money for the toll gates, for the petrol? And maybe if I look in my pocket, I realize actually I don't have enough money. Maybe I'm going to Durban for a holiday. And so I don't have enough money to get me to Durban, but maybe I can get to Wombats. It's closer. It's just about looking at what you want to achieve, when you want to achieve it. And can you maybe postpone the trip to Durban and stay at home and not even go to Wombats that's closer? Because you're being realistic with what it is that you have.
Right.
And maybe you're a person of, it's Durban or nothing. And finding ways to still relax if you're on holiday while you're in your house, maybe socialize with people around you.
Yeah.
While you know that you are putting money aside. So in simplistic terms, it's having a goal-oriented mindset that says, with what I have now, what can I do?
Yeah.
Can I wait?
Yeah.
Can I maybe do part of what I want to do and do the rest later? That's in essence what financial planning is. Yes, it's planning. How do I build my wealth? But it's also, how do I protect what it is that I've got?
What you've got.
And, how do I recognize that with life being short, there are people who depend on me? How do I look after them? How do I put in place strategies? What do the financial products that I've got, how do they address what's going to happen once I'm not here?
Wow, you've put it in such a simple term, like, because And I guess that's why I wanted to talk about it, because when you hear financial planning, you're thinking, all these, the wealth, acquiring the assets, but there's a financial planning that's day to day, and then there's also financial planning for the future. And for me, I think, I've never looked at the now as part of the planning. Like the example around the holiday, it's actually the most simplest example. What do I have? Do I have enough? And if not, can I wait? Or what's the alternative? And I think there for me, there's a mind shift in terms of how I'm going to start looking at the now financial planning. But I think let's go deeper into it in terms of, there's financial planning in terms of, there's that notion of people are encouraged to save. You hear when the interest rate is going up, or and people are being charged more for loans or whatever. But there's and people are encouraged to save. How does the saving work when there's just not enough to live?
Yeah, because life is expensive.
Yeah.
Let's not.
What do we save for?
Let's not kill ourselves.
Yeah.
Life is expensive. Maybe let's start it in the day to day, because it's all good and well to encourage people to save, but you're right, we must live, we must live.
Yeah.
And the part of thinking around alternatives is, if I'm shopping at Jackson's today, should I maybe not plant a garden? And at least if I'm so set on shopping at Jackson's, at least I'm not buying tomatoes from Jackson's, right?
Yeah. They're in your backyard.
In the backyard. Spinach. It's very easy to plant spinach. Spinach is like weeds. It just grows and grows and grows. And I think we grew up, Penny, seeing our grandmothers and grandfathers planting. And so in these tough economic times, in fact, lockdown, personally for me, was when I started reaching deep into those memories.
Yeah.
Realizing that really things like spinach.
Because you had all the time, right? Yeah.
Like onions. Before lockdown, I didn't get outside. It's
Yeah.
almost like I didn't know I had a garden.
Yeah. And lockdown, now
now I'm there.
You are restricted to this.
I live and work
Yes.
there. So I started buying seedlings.
Wow.
And so right now, tomatoes I've even frozen.
Wow. There's so many that you're growing.
I didn't realize. I always thought it's my grandmother that has green fingers. But until I tried.
Yeah.
So yes, life is expensive, but we do have things that we watched our forebears, our grandmothers, our grandfathers do.
Which we can do.
Saving is part of them. Yes, a lot of them didn't have a lot of money. In the part of the world where I come from, people grow mealies. You feed it to chickens. You eat it. You make mealie meal from it. We used to have this thing at my grandmother's house where they ground it.
Yeah.
So which tells you that when there was harvest, they didn't just eat the fresh mealies and finish. There was this thing of keeping for a future date.
Yes.
Keeping the seed for next season.
So the saving culture is exactly that. Not only money, but you preserve
what you have.
Yeah.
You don't need to wait until you earn millions, because you know what? The thing that you do with millies, which is what you have, the things you do when you have 100 rands, the employer that you work for will give you a raise of 20,000 rands. And if you haven't gotten those fundamentals right, when you have 20,000 rands, if you don't get those fundamentals right, when you still have 100.
Yes, and then when you get 20, the fundamentals are wrong still.
You will still do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It will be like you don't have money. It will be like you haven't gotten.
You'll keep wanting more and more, but just because you're not able to manage what you've got.
Exactly. So those are some of the things I went into. You know what? Millies, there's some that you harvest when it's still fresh.
Yeah.
They make soup with it. They make bread, fresh corn bread.
Yes, yeah.
But they don't use it all when it's still fresh.
Right.
Some of it gets dried, and then you make umngqusho with it.
Yeah.
And you make animal feed, and some of it gets brown. But there is that bit that gets kept so that it forms seed for the next season. So I think there's different things in different people's lives, but those simple examples kind of help me in thinking about the now, the different things you do with money now. So everybody needs to pay rent.
Yes.
Everybody needs to have transport to go to work. If you're a person that's working and the struggle is rent.
No, the struggle, yes.
I think we have a problem.
Yeah.
I think we either need to look for a different job or we need to look at what we have around the house to start selling it. If you have a car, maybe you need to start doing Uber trips or something. But if you're a person who's working
and you're struggling with the basic,
maybe you're staying where it's too expensive.
So maybe downgrade.
Yes. Maybe in with family for
or a roommate. Share the cost. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
And so rent, transport money. I don't think those and food. I think if you're in a job that can't provide those things, it's either underpaying you or you are living somewhere where it's too expensive. So look at
make drastic changes.
Those basics we can't be calling mama and saying
rent. Yeah.
I think we need to like ourselves.
Or e-transport. Yeah. I hear you.
That just it's often when we look at the bank statement and see where is it going?
Where is it going?
What's going on here? What's the biggest line item? And then if the biggest line item is speaks for the latest cavelas, I know there's people who can't live with that.
Then there's a change in direction here that needs to happen. Yeah.
But for the most part, for most people, we are able to choose to live within our means. But whether we exercise that choice
or not
is something else. This is now just the present because we need to where we are. The photo of right now needs to be right before we
are starting to look at the photo of what of the future.
We still need to think of that and imagine. The children that are growing today need to go to university.
Yep.
And when I die, this house, are they going to have?
Or if I die today, what's going to? Yes.
And is the provision for the home for the cost of dying, guys? Dying is expensive.
It's very expensive, and it's not planned for, right?
It's not just the funeral.
Yeah.
Because for the government to transfer this home to somebody else's hands, there are costs involved. There are taxes, there are duties. So have you provided for that?
Yeah.
Have you provided for a nest egg for the people we're leaving behind so that they can live? That's when now financial products come in.
Yes.
They are answering questions.
These questions that we're asking.
It's not financial product first and then
it's the questions. Then we get the product that answers that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's And I think that's where I want to move to, Babalwa, because now that you're mentioning if you die today, will the kids still keep this house?
Yeah.
The estate duties and their costs, like you say, to transfer the house, so you might have a will, but if it's not enough, it will all go to what the cost of the estate. So what is the once you've got it right in the now photo, how does one go about planning for that day that they are no longer around, to make sure that they take care of their kids, because I think others link it to you have to have a financial advisor and it's expensive. How does one do it if you think that you can't afford it, or if you believe that you're not in any position to, because I think drafting a will has always been seen as something of only the wealthy, so hence the issue of the disputes in the township for grandmother's house, Dontoni, because somehow there's somebody that's in the list, which they used to call it back in the day, permits, but now from a legal perspective things are now different, and now there's these disputes that are just coming out of nowhere for this house. I say, look, you're fighting, but Ukoko was poor because and she didn't know that she could actually write a will. So I just want to understand, what's the cheapest way to do a will, because I certainly grew up understanding that it's only for the wealthy.
It's not only for the wealthy.
Okay.
I'll use a simple example. In healthcare, for example, there are nurses, there are doctors, and God doctor there is
Yeah.
And the GP will look at your condition and say, Penny, I'm a general practitioner.
Mhm.
You need an audiologist.
Yeah, or gynecologist
Yes,
or whatever.
and
Yes,
so-
yeah.
So when we think about, just track back,
Mm.
we have these people that are called primary healthcare workers.
Yes, yes, yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So when we think about finances as well,
Mm.
so the role of a primary healthcare worker is that person that helps you not to get sick enough to go to the GP.
Correct.
Right?
Mm.
And the GP is that person that manages simple conditions
So that you don't need a specialist.
You don't get sick to an extent where and it's not always avoidable.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be a bit too simple, but there's stages.
Mm.
So even in personal finances, we need to think not just of an advisor in a generic way, or not just an advisor, not just any service provider in a generic way. Is there are you in control of your finances enough to say I am in a healthy state, or do you need to go to a sister and do
a sugar, what, yeah,
so
like
are
blood
you
test.
that person that's able to do that prick and manage and understand financially that prick if the sugar is too high? Are you as an individual able to manage just that?
Correct.
That
to keep it, yeah,
so,
yeah.
So when you're at that stage, you're not going to the gynecologist, you're not going to the estate lawyer.
No.
At that stage, right? And then you go. A lot of people go to people that sell financial products, but those people are salespeople.
They're not there to look after the person. They are there to sell a product, whether it answers the question or not.
Yeah. Maybe let's say it answers the question. It answers the question, but that's all that they're qualified to do. Right. They're not qualified to draw up an estate plan for you and tell you which are the dutiable assets.
Yes.
What's not dutiable. I'll make it simpler. If you have a job, the primary health care stage of it and staying healthy is at your HR, are your things listed, your beneficiaries? If something happens to you, does the work know who
does the employer know who to call?
Or is that the right person? Is it Gogo who passed away who raised you?
Yes.
Or is it your husband that you're now married to?
Or a husband or an ex-husband that you never changed.
Yeah, is this an
ex-husband that's now a beneficiary that you haven't changed at work. Yes, I see what you mean.
Those are not things that you need a financial planner and advisor for.
Just the basics.
It's just housekeeping.
Yeah.
And then secondly, now when you recognize, okay, I've now got a house.
Yes.
I've bought a house. Most banks insist on life cover. And a lot of our people take lots of life cover because we want our children to have money when we die. But there's something called the lottery effect, where if you get a lot of money, or if you watch shows about people who've won a lot of money, they blow it.
There's a lot of blow it.
So in the buying, you answered the question by buying life cover
to make sure that they keep the house. Right.
When Mama is gone, the house will get settled. Right. But who's the person who is their legal guardian? Has the conversation been had with them to say, if something is going to happen to me, do you know that you are the guardian that must guard these little children of mine and make sure that they don't buy a new car?
Yes.
When I pass away. Or then now an advisor would come and say, perhaps you need to provide a level of continuous income for them instead of a lump sum, because that's what's going to help them keep paying the rates and the electricity. Right? So you're not having that conversation with the HR person or the employee benefits person.
But you're also having it with the individuals involved.
You're having it with the individuals involved, which is not a financial thing; it's a relational thing. It's an ability to have difficult conversations with the nearest and the dearest to you. But in terms of the type of professional you need, can you see that you don't just need the guy that is accredited to sell life cover?
Correct.
Because yes, that will answer the financial bit, but it won't take care of the conversation. Now you progress and you grow in life. Maybe there's a stokvel group that you belong to. Maybe there is a shares here. People are buying shares here. People are buying shares there. Now the person who has sold you that product is not going to say to you that is this dutiable, this type of investment or not. Meaning it's going to go into your estate.
Yes.
For whose benefit?
You know?
Trust been their life.
Yes.
So a lot of financial institutions come and say, I will draft a will for you. A lot of those are generic, those wills. And a lot of them, because they don't specialize in what's called fiduciary services, those wills take a long time to wrap up.
Yeah.
And has the person who sold you the financial product explained what is going to happen between now when the estate, when you pass away?
Yeah, and the time that the estate is finalized. Wow.
So it's a lot to think about. And I think as much as we shop around for doctors and we recommend each other, this is my gynae,
Yeah.
we have the same approach to financial services providers as well.
Yeah.
To say, okay, right, this is where I am. I think I understand my basics. I think my beneficiaries are in order. I think I have a working budget.
Yeah.
What do I need next?
Yes.
Who did you go to? I think word of mouth is great. To talk to the right kind of person who's got the skills, because often the person who's selling you the product cannot calculate cannot draw up an estate plan for you.
Yeah.
And cannot challenge you to say, has this estate plan been discussed?
Yes, with the relevant people.
As a family.
Yeah.
Whether your family is your partner that you live with, your husband or your sister.
Or your mother, or anyone.
Mother.
Yeah.
Because our parents with COVID have buried some of us.
Yeah.
Which is something that's unnatural. So I hope I'm answering.
No, you are. Like you are answering me. And I think as you're talking, there's just so many things. And it's so relevant. And I think it's exciting for me, Babalwa, because you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is that there's a form of customization that needs to happen for each of these, for each of us, because we're all different. Our kids want different things. So if there's plans that you want to go university in Japan or in the US, there has to be planning around that. And even if I die today, I should essentially have those plans in place that will then look after that, So I'm seeing it very differently, as opposed to, I must say, for me, it was just the tick box to say, okay, financial planning, I've got a will, there's beneficiaries, and there's that piece, but there's also that piece of, in the corporate environment, we always say self-mastery. In order for you to grow, you've got to understand yourself and understand what it is that you need to work towards. So I see it exactly like as that, to say you have a financial goal, or you have this financial position, and these are the things that you want to do. You've got kids. I've got a mom. I mean, for somebody like me who's the only child, right? So I'm the only child that my mom has. So if I pass away today, I almost need to have ensured that she continues to get the money of the stuff that she will need, right? So the house, the electricity, the water, and all of that, and not assume that parents die first, and that's how. I mean, obviously, in the last 2 years, we've had to shift that. So what I'm also hearing you say is you don't always need a professional.
You do not
always need a professional.
You do not always need a professional.
Yeah.
There are some people who are capable because of their education. But they always say, if you go to a mechanic's house, you'll find their car.
Yeah, like even a doctor, I don't know if they can diagnose themselves, but yeah.
Yes. So that's why I think everybody at least once a year needs to check in with a professional, because you might be blindsided. I mean, when I was changing from corporate into working for myself and consulting, I sat down with someone and I said, "This is my spreadsheet. This is my reserves. This is what this is my plan." And you know that even as somebody who was in banking at the time, there were things that I thought, oh, I work for a bank.
Yeah, you know these things. Yeah, yeah.
That I was paying more for than I could have.
Then you should have. Yeah. Wow. It's always interesting. Now, Babalwa, I want to switch it up a bit. So growing up, in the township, there was always these shops, and then but shop, there's always that family very rich, shop and stuff, and And every time the father figure died, everything else went with it. And obviously that speaks to the planning for the future that we're talking about. But what I've found in especially in the African community is that, you know, life cover becomes a thing that is frowned upon, because if I've taken a life cover on my husband and he dies, you understand? Ngizombulala because ngimkhavile nge-5 million or 10 million, you know. So I find that, Tina, see, we've always just been in the back foot in shifting our mindsets about certain things. Certainly, you know, having gone to the type of school I've gone to, you know, there were some of my friends whose dads, you know, or mothers passed on, but you know, parents had life cover, so their lives continued, and you know, so trying to have a conversation, you know, with you know, with the people in, you know, especially in the township, it just becomes, you know, I hear stories like kukhona mama walapha ufake abantu abaningi umasingcwabane, yabo. And then so when all these people die, like they're very particular about a death certificate. So only particular, you know, certain people can have access to this death certificate because about by your claim. You know, so we always find a way to self-sabotage as Black people, and at least that is my experience, to say, you know, we don't empower each other. So when this thing ends, if you want to scrutinize it and say, no, but so many for the 10 million, you know, and it becomes a thing. So what's your thoughts on that?
So glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Funeral cover is different from life cover.
Sure.
Funeral cover, depending on whether you have taken it with what's called a micro insurer or a more established insurer. Can I mention names of insurers?
No, you can.
So, for example, a lot of people don't know the difference between a micro insurer and a more established insurer.
Yeah, I don't as well. Yeah.
If you read your policy documents, even on the established insurers, so the micro insurers, there's virtually no limit. This is a change in law that was brought into the Insurance Act in 2018.
What is a micro insurer?
It's almost like the I don't want to make a bad example.
Let
me make an example about the established insurers.
Okay.
So like the Sanlams, the life companies, the life back
companies. Yes. Okay.
Then you get the ones. I don't know if Clientele, for example, it is backed by a life company. But there are some, you know, that are less well known.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Even the ones we grew up knowing. If you read the fine print, it will say that for the people that are insured, there's a limit of 100,000 rands. So let's say me and you are sisters. We've got a mother and a father. Then you go and you put, and it is
yes. Yes.
So you go and put 100.
Yeah.
I go and put 100.
100. Yes. Yeah.
Then our relative passes away, and maybe some other people have gone. Do you know that by the time we get that death certificate, you will get the 100,000 rands, right? By the time I go, they will look that ID number up of the deceased, and I will not get my 100,000. And I've been contributing since 1986. The thing of ensuring bongo auntie so that solid death certificate.
Yes.
It's unfortunately people have used what's supposed to be catering for funeral expenses to grow their wealth.
Correct.
Right. So that by somebody's dying, then they have, you know, the sum.
Yeah, or they would even claim like they've covered the person for 20,000 and they claim, but then they only contribute 5,000 for the funeral. But they keep the 15. Yes. No, they do happen.
Penny, me and you today, right? We have bonds. And I think a lot of people have bonds. People get property.
Many people.
Now, imagine taking a risk and insuring somebody, and only to find that all the cousins have also insured them, and you don't get that money after 25 years of contributing.
Sure.
What if like 275 we find the bond?
Instead of contributing to this funeral cover that you're not. Yeah.
In your bond? It's saving your.
It's saving the interest. Yes.
It's shortening the time that you know. If your bond was 30 years, it means you can potentially pay it in 25.
Correct. Yeah, or 20 years. Yeah.
And those funds that you contribute over and above your installments, it's called flexi facilities. In some
Yes,
banks.
and you can have access to it. Yeah.
But now, so why are we going to this side? Yama funeral covers instead of fucking your
It's investing it, yeah.
No, tell her 275 your premium.
Yeah, auntie, the funeral, yeah.
Because trust me, if you are someone with a goal and you are trying to pay down your house quickly, when the funeral comes, you will not be generous and go to your flexi reserve, could be 100,000.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
So keep 5,000. Yes, exactly.
Which means that it's actually the 275 or that 100 rand is actually helping you in the long term pay off the home.
But it could also then give you the access should there be a funeral
and
for you to contribute. Yes.
I think the problem
is access to
cash.
Wow.
So why aren't we giving ourselves access to cash? Imagine
in other ways.
The resentment, me, you, and our cousin, we've put auntie and auntie.
Now we're not getting the
money. I'm not getting the 100,000.
Because there's funeral cover aunt,
in my bond. I could have been putting those 100 rands in my bond.
I cannot believe what you've just said. It's so profound. But I think you're right. So essentially, the whole thing of there's a saying, "Wuti lifula hailam pidisa," but that's in Sotho, right? And you get that. So yeah. So you kind of want to benefit as a result of somebody's death, right? But what you've just said, oh my word! So that 250 that you're covering these people could be, you can put it in your bond. And when the time comes and the person dies, there's no issues around that limit.
If you forget everything I've said today,
wow.
Wow. It might be different with the micros, the ones, the funerals,
yes. Oh, yes.
It might be different, the limit.
But it's obviously the established ones that you must check.
I want you to know the T's and C's.
Because it makes sense. It's only the established ones that would obviously have not the manpower, but
they're also regulated.
Yeah, they're also regulated, but they can drive such regulations, right? So they can drive such regulations to try and mitigate exactly what people usually do, because it is, many people have benefited from somebody's death, So, wow,
life cover is a different animal. I mean, for life cover, I have to, you will know if I put you in.
Yeah.
Just take a copy of your ID because typically they check.
Yes.
And things like that. So that one we should not be thinking about life cover for somebody who's not our spouse.
Yeah.
Somebody who don't share date responsibility.
But even with spouses, it is still a thing within our communities because it's you're gonna kill him. And my husband and I, we know, he tells me, hey, I've just taken a life cover, and this life cover is going to be this much. So, and as we're putting together our will, we both know, and you mentioned something earlier that I must actually take away from this conversation, where we've put the will together, we've put all our assets, we understand, we've even covered what the cost would be of finalizing, but we haven't had the conversation with the guardian. Because the other day we were saying, I was saying to him, it's easy. If I die, we know what's going to happen. If he dies, we know. But if we both die at the same time, that was the thing to say, okay, but if we both die at the same time, then we agreed to say, okay, there's a person that we want to be a guardian to our kids, but we actually haven't told that person.
What are the financial habits of the guardian?
You understand?
Right now, their current picture, are they overdraft?
We haven't talked about that.
I think we need to learn how to have courageous conversations.
Yeah. Because essentially this person is going to find out when we're dead that they're the guardian of these kids. Maybe they don't like kids.
They don't like kids.
They're like all these brats.
They like this.
And they'll just
brag for them, but actually being responsible.
And they'll just take them to like a boarding school. And my kids have made it very clear, no boarding school for them. But you say I think if there is one thing I'm taking away, is definitely that act that has been amended. The T's and C's, the policies I've got, the act that has been amended. But also, lastly, I need to start having conversations with the people that I've included in my will, so that they know in the event that this happens. Yeah. No HR in the right. Yeah, I think I must just make sure that they send me so I can check the updates. But I think You're right. Start with your employer. Check with HR. Do you have the right beneficiaries there? You know, because you might have had somebody who's now passed on and you haven't updated it, or you might have somebody that you've since divorced or separated from. Please make sure you update that and just make sure that you're always current. So funeral cover, wow, discovery, and life cover is obviously different. Let's talk about the, how do I want to ask this question? Let's talk about the, how do I want to, you know what I want to ask, in saving, like in terms of the household, right? There's different family dynamics where there's blended families, or there's kids that are not in the same household. And yes, you know, so there's those dynamics. How do we then, you know, in this financial awareness and the financial planning for now and the future, how do we incorporate that? And the reason I ask this, Babalwa, is that you know, there's many people I chat to, and one would say, I'm married to this man. This man's got 2 other kids out there, and our estate will be consolidated. Now, now all my hard work, you know, earned money will be split with those kids. You know, how do we deal the finances in terms of saving, being aware where we are, and planning for the future, where you've got kids that don't form part of the household currently, but these are biological kids of either the husband or the wife, and understanding that some of the money will then be given to the other kids.
So I say to my friends who aren't married yet that you know, we like to copy people's outfits when they get married. So 10 years ago, someone got married in a boot tube. So I say, I'll forgive you if you get married in a boot tube today, even though there's lots of other stuff. But I won't forgive you if you go into marriage in 2022 in a community of property. Because that just, we've seen messes,
Absolutely.
royal messes. And then secondly, I will go back and emphasize the courageous conversations, especially with children involved. I think as women, it's a little bit easier. It's very hard for a woman to hide their child.
No, you can't. I mean,
whereas the people that we marry, you know, may hide children because the children are with their mothers. And yet this person is contributing to a pension fund. Do you know that regardless of whether he has a will or not, Penny,
those kids are entitled.
When he passes away, the trustees of that fund have a duty to check who else is dependent
on this person.
And you know, when and your children, you know, we can show, you know, he
there's proof that he was a provider.
Yes. But do you know those e-wallets that he sends out?
Those people will get.
Those e-wallets.
Yo. And it doesn't say he's supporting these kids.
It's very quiet and discreet. Oh, people know when he's on his phone sending e-wallets.
And who will monitor e-wallets? I mean.
But those e-wallets can show up. When now, I see in the neighborhood, maybe that he used to do things back in the day. Now they know.
Now they know. Who passed away.
And they XYZ Bank. So
there must be money.
They will go there to XYZ Bank and they will make a representation and they will pull out
the
e-wallets. Whereas, if us as the mothers or the parents, actually the grown-ups,
the grown-ups that are involved
in this question, you know, brother, and that sister that he, you know, where he has children. What if we all sat down and we said, actually, it's about the children here, and you can even initiate the conversation, or I can initiate the conversation.
It's not even about anybody's money, right? It's about the people that need to be looked after.
The children, because now it takes away those fights.
After,
because I brother is gone. Ones, we think we're going to go to the lawyers, but the Pension Funds Act, Regulation 28,
it's not about the degrees and the
Section
lawyers.
37 says that
best to Google that.
the children, brother lo, ebeba supporta e-wallets nazi.
Ne-sleep sekroza
Even if your will excludes those children and you purport that you didn't know them,
wow.
well, excuse me, but Section 37 gives the duty to the trustees
To go dig.
to go, and that's why it takes up to a year for pensions to pay out, because they must understand, was he supporting Andy that raised him in the Eastern Cape? Was he supporting Johnny and Millicent? Even if it was not coming out of the family bank account, it was coming via e-wallet. It's courageous conversations. It's just being grown people and keeping the main thing. That even if you're the one who, you're the missus, but can we just be real and have honest conversations?
Yeah. And I guess being a missus and what you will get and what, if once the guy is passed on, it's not about how much he loved you if you're the only person that's in the will, right? It's about, that's why you say it's about the children.
The law is looking after the children.
Yeah.
The law is looking after the children who were dependent on Babalwa.
So what if there's a girlfriend that was also getting iwalats?
Well, she can also go and make representations. And if she can demonstrate
that Ubrada was
she depended on Ubrada.
Yo. Guys.
And guys, go check me. Go Section 37 of the Pension Funds Act. It's on the internet.
It is, yeah. Look, I definitely think there's a lot of things we could explore, in terms of this topic. This is just like just a high level view of the holistic financial discussion.
I like the fact that you are putting it like that, because we live in the age of social media. A lot of people on Twitter are showing you what their portfolio is. We're all financially savvy. We're showing each other crypto. This is what I know. But it's not a consultation with a professional. We love you at home watching us, and we both have banking backgrounds.
Yes.
We're not in front of you with your circumstances.
Correct.
With your peculiarities.
Yes.
Because but that's fine.
Because our needs are different.
Our circumstances, the financial professionals that we need. It's not one size fits all.
Yes, of course. But I think you mentioned something earlier around the intention of a salesperson. Because the salesperson has targets, they need to sell.
Yes.
So many life covers, so many things. So as a result, when the consultation happens, may not necessarily
be with your interest.
So it is imperative. This is what I'm hearing you saying. It is imperative that Penny understands what Penny needs.
Exactly.
And whilst you probably need a salesperson to fulfill that admin process, be clear and firm around, these are my needs. If something happens to me, these are the things that need to happen, and here's what needs to happen in the school and all of that, and plan for my kids. If they're doing horse riding today and doing swimming, those as extramurals, those need to continue. And your needs may be different. So that's what I'm hearing.
I want to say also that, especially if the service provider that you're using is affiliated to, say, a life company, that person is likely to be blindsided. I'm not saying they don't do good work, but they may not know what other providers have available. Because they've had firm XYZ's training, maybe they started there.
Correct. Yes. So there's obviously institution,
institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
And so they will always try to guide you there. And also they may always also try to guide you to where their commission is the highest. And just back to funeral covers, a lot of them have this cashback thing.
I know, right? This if you claim 3 for 5 years cashback, but you're taking insurance to claim.
But now, are you asking him? Are you comparing? If I wasn't taking the option with the payback and taking the one without the payback, what's the difference? Is he volunteering that information to you?
No,
Do you
that's the selling point. The selling point is if you claim 3 for 5 years, you get cashback. And for me, I've never thought that I had the right to ask, what if I don't want it? Because it's the selling point. And also, I'm taking insurance cover so that when the need arises, I must claim. Now you're encouraging me not to claim. So
no, but also, I mean, that 5 years, okay, great, you're gonna get that claim back, that cash free bonus.
Yeah.
But what could it be doing for you right now to the bond that you're paying in your interest?
We don't know.
Is it sitting there earning the same kind of interest?
Probably not.
That you are busy paying.
Probably not.
So we need to also just take a little bit more stewardship and accountability for our things and not just fob it off to it's like a doctor. Let's not just be taking the pills and the medications and be happy that is there something that proactively we can do to be healthy before we get sick? And then depend on these tablets.
And even if you do get sick, I remember the one time, and I'm now expanding on the example. I remember the one time I had a consistent cough, and this was during the COVID times. And, I went to the GP, I did the x-ray. At one point, the person told me that I've got ulcers and whatever, and then I went back, and this cough it wasn't going away. Yeah. Even after antibiotics. And this one doctor insisted on taking an x-ray. And I said, but I've got a copy of my x-rays, which I took 2 weeks ago. I'm not taking another set of x-rays, so, and sometimes just being firm around, that's not the direction. Let's tick the box. I've done that, and that. What else is there? Do I need to see a specialist?
And the thing I did be like, I'm not saying let's not trust people who got to
Yes, no, I hear you. I hear you fully.
Typically, a professional whose worth is weight in salt actually likes the fact that you want to know more. Can you help me understand why you feel like you need another x-ray?
Yeah, why?
It's your right.
Yes.
It's like somebody who's properly qualified in financial matters. They will be frank with you about, this is exactly how much I'm getting paid for this service.
Yes.
That I'm this product that I'm selling to you. If they charge on a consultation basis, they will guide you. Like, let's be open to changing where we feel like a service provider is not serving your needs. Because you must go to somebody that you're going to be comfortable asking questions. And if they're really worth their salt, whether they're doctors, whichever field that they're in, the more educated your person that you are serving is, the better. And like I say, it's maybe not a person that we need to see every 3 months.
No, not at all.
But we maybe need to see them once a year. But we also need to see them from an informed position and not come in the blank.
Yes, do your own research. There's Google, there's YouTube. I mean, there's many things that we can do today which we couldn't do then. So just by watching, as in being part of a show and now understanding, the production and how it works. There's certain equipment that I've got, which I didn't know how they operated. Just by watching a YouTube video, I now understand, oh my word, is this how this thing works?
And having access to the internet.
Yeah.
They say in the Bible that King Solomon was the richest man that ever lived. You, with the stable internet connection that you've got today, if you're watching this show, you are richer than what he was.
Exactly.
You've got more information available.
Yes.
So let's not also be blank canvases. Let's be going to these service providers. Let's be asking these questions, but let's also come with our own reading and a better understanding of our needs and our circumstances, so that when you look at the products that you've got, the things that you've invested in, the maybe insurance products that you bought, are they answering the questions? And are they speaking to the circumstances and the goals that you have?
Sure. Guys, I think that's a lot. That's really, I don't even think, I think we probably need another session, because we're probably going to get lots of questions. Guys, if you do have questions for Babalwa, please just feel free to drop a comment. I will ask her to answer your questions. And I think the financial discussion is too broad. One of the other questions I have for you, Babalwa, is that, in terms of life cover, right? So people kind of take multiple life cover policies just to make sure that there's enough money. That they could have a life cover at work which is underwritten by somebody, and then they personally take out another one, or and at different points, as and when they feel. So, and then the same person then passes away, and then they discover that these multiple life cover policies that this person has is actually underwritten by the same organization.
Yes.
And obviously, there's one ID number, there's one life. So is that advisable? Will they pay out all 5? Will they only pay out 1?
So I'm
or will they not even pick it up at the time of contribution? Not that the insurance will always stop you and say you are over contributing, but
I think we need to understand the concept of insurable interest.
So
by the time you're taking out a million life cover, what is your interest in my life, as in my dying? Does it affect your...
No. Let's say I have taken it, right? Yes. So let's say I'm not taking it out on somebody else.
So it's on you.
It's on me. So because I want my kids to have all the money and stuff, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm a bit excessive,
Okay. The purpose of life cover is to settle debt when you pass away. The purpose of life cover is to settle the expenses related to wrapping up your estate.
Right.
You may leave lump sums. Nobody is going to stop you from leaving lump sum. You may do it, right? But the lottery effect, I think I spoke to it a little bit earlier.
Yes.
People win lots of money. People have access to a lot of money. And the people that you leave behind, let's say if they are children, they typically, I mean, they're not typically, they are younger. They have needs, right?
They're gonna live for longer. Yeah.
Is it not better to provide them with recurring income
versus a lump sum? But even if that is the case, so let's say I'm giving them, I've secured a recurring income, yes. But I've secured it with multiple policies which are ultimately underwritten by one person.
Yeah.
So will that work?
I would challenge that to say that when you do your yearly review, is the person who's talking to you like helping you understand? Are you saving? Maybe I'm
laughing. So maybe what you're
with getting a slice here, a slice here, a slice here, because I don't like, it doesn't make sense to me why you would do that. A million here. Because remember, when you die, if you have one home, that's one bond.
That's going to be settled. Yes.
Yeah. It's not 10. And the estate duty, maybe let's say there are 10 homes, right? And you need to provide. So ultimately the estate is going to be brought to one place.
To one place, yes.
Right? And then we're going to see what are the debts of the estate, what are the expenses relating to wrapping up this estate, the lawyer's fees, the master's fees, the duty, and in one place. It's not going to be done separately. So maybe that's what I'm confused about.
No. It's a valid question, but I think there's probably no concrete answer. And I think maybe the reason for that is there's no point in having the same pair of shoes in different colors type of vibe.
You totally can.
Right? You totally can, but understand why that is.
The purpose.
Yeah.
Let's understand that insurance, whether it's short-term or life, it's a risk mitigator.
It is.
Right?
And what risk is it mitigating?
So let's understand the risk that it's mitigating. And let's maybe think, if we love generational wealth, this term of generational wealth, right? So the risk mitigator that can be in the form of recurring life income. Maybe house these children live in this house.
Right.
And
maintain the house, yes.
But maybe something like a tax-free savings account or investment in their name enables them, when the right time comes, to start a business or to go to university. Right?
Or to buy their own additional property outside of the one that you've left.
But the difference there is that thing is busy growing in the market. The life cover, they give you a fund. They're like, it's
5 million. And 5 million equivalent, obviously 20 years from now, 5 million is...
It's not busy growing.
It's not,
Whereas maybe a share portfolio would be growing. Maybe a tax-free savings investment would be growing as your child is growing. So it's understanding that the one is an investment product, the one is a risk product. And if you're protecting a risk, do you understand that risk?
So don't overprotect, in other words.
Can we not overprotect?
Yeah.
I don't have people overinvest.
Yeah.
Because our children, they're not all going to go to university like we did. Some of them are going to start businesses. And some of them are going to want to study in Japan.
Yeah.
And not in the US where I went.
Exactly.
And so maybe actually, I have an offshore endowment.
So that when the time
Because
comes,
I'm making it
yeah.
offshore because I'm growing dollar assets.
Yes.
Because I'm providing
For that university, yes.
Expenditure.
Yeah.
You understand?
No, I get you.
Because
I get
maybe
you.
Johnny, I can
Yeah.
see, but this is
No,
not
Johnny has already told you they want to go to Harvard.
So there's no reason of growing maybe rand assets
because for Johnny,
because Johnny in Harvard.
Yeah. And even if you grow in rands, the conversion at the time might not make sense. So rather grow. Yeah. No,
so
I get you. I get you.
There's growth on the other side, then there's risk mitigation. So it's again about that self-knowledge and the knowledge of your immediate circumstances and your
and what
people,
and what you're trying to achieve.
Which informs the journey.
Yeah. Jeez. Yo, I think this conversation, like I've never, I must say, guys, I've taken quite a bit. I know earlier on you said, if there's one thing, what we must take. I've taken quite a bit from this conversation. I've personally learned, and there's a few things I need to go back and reflect on in terms of my financial position. But I am quite excited to know that I'm sort of on the right track. I've done the basics, you know. So I think it's more encouraging for me to go back and just review some of the stuff. But guys, that was really, really an informative and exciting conversation for me. I think money is a really, really sensitive subject because of our different circumstances. But I think what I take away from today's conversation is understand your situation, understand what is now and what is your position and what you can afford and can't afford, but also review, the plans. And that is why we have wills. We have a will because we want to make sure that, this house remains in the name of the people that bought it, and it must be handed down to the children. I think, with a clear view of risk mitigation, I'll probably choose my policies carefully. But I mean, outside of just going to the T's and C's as soon as I'm done here with you. Thank you so much, Babalwa, for coming through to Hot Seats with Penzola. Babalwa's details, if you guys need more information, you can obviously get hold of her using the information on the screen. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Any further questions that you have, please go ahead and comment. I will ask Babalwa to please, check all the questions and respond to them. It's been a real thing. It was such an amazing conversation. Goodbye for now.